Welcome back to Educate and Elevate Your Employment. I'm John Green and I'm here with Harriet Richmond. And today's topic, we're going to talk about internships, that all important experience that everyone needs to get into the job market and to showcase their skills. So with that, we have our public sector and our private sector internship programs. So I'm going to let you talk about the process for internships in the federal sector, and I'll piggyback on that regarding the private sector.
Okay, no problem. And one of the things I want to emphasize, John, is do it as soon as possible. For your competition is steep in the federal government. We don't have a lot of agencies that offer internship programs, but when you do get one, they are usually pretty good as far as converting you. They have a commitment to the Office of Personnel Management when they put a pathways, because that's what they're called, pathways internship. When they put one of those programs together, they have a commitment and designated positions and want to figure out a way to convert you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to do it as soon as possible, because once those FTEs is what we call it, position slots get eaten up, it's just difficult after that for an agency to start filling from other positions. Plus, government, we're kind of cautious, right? We just don't bring anybody and everybody on. And you have to pass your security background. You have to show a level of competencies in your work. So we're really skeptical, schemish. So if you can come in as early as your end of your freshman year of college, or even in your high school years. Some agencies will pick you up even during your high school years. The Pathway program does include that. That's typically not the norm, but it can happen. And if you're with them for 3 or 4 years, government loves grooming people. Some of our jobs are so unique, you're never going to gain that type of experience in the private sector. So we love to bring you in on the ground floor, groom you, build you, and then eventually hire you. So that's kind of our experience with internships in the federal government.
Yeah, I think the important thing that we should emphasize here also is what's the importance of an internship? So, for those of you who are in college seeking careers, or even in technical positions for apprenticeships, even, the important factor with internships is to gain experience. So, you're building on your skill set before you're actually in the job market. You're able to hone the skills that you've learned academically, but you're putting practical application to the theories that you've learned and the other areas. So I always want to emphasize to people who are looking for internships, do it so you can start building your resume, because a lot of times we don't have any experience. Two, it could be paid or unpaid. So hopefully if it is paid, that's great. If it's not, take the opportunity again to build your resume, build your skill set. And also, I can't emphasize enough, it's more than just being there and being the low person on the totem pole. What you actually want to do, your goal for your internship should be, I need a tangible product.
Yes.
When I finish this internship. What did I contribute and what can I take from here to show the next person, oh, yes, I started here. These are the steps I took. This is the outcome that I had. This was my contribution to the organization while I did my internship. So I think those might be some of the differences between, the federal space and the private space. I know yours is probably a lot more formalized. Again, for the private space, it depends on the organization that you're going into. Some have very formalized internships. Others, it might be haphazard. Every now and then, people might just come and go, oh, I want an intern. And then you got other departments going, well, I didn't know we had an internship program. Where can I get somebody? My
Right.
son Billy needs some help.
Right.
Yeah. And that you have to be very careful about that too, because I think people don't realize when you start bringing family members in, it's still a place of employment.
Right.
And from an HR standpoint, they're pseudo employee. So when mom wants to come and talk about their internship or how they're being treated, I still push back and go, I can't discuss that with you. If you want to know, you can discuss that with Mary over there, but Mary and I will talk. And if Mary wants to share or has issues, then that's on you. But yes, the internships give you a foot in the door. It provides a pipeline for the organization for future employees. So if you have an internship and you keep going back to the same either agency or organization, building on and on, by the time it's graduation, they already know who you are, what you can do, and when there's an opening, it's like, hey, we've been working with such and such for every year. Let's go ahead and get them in.
Right. It's
So
low risk, but it's low risk in the point that if you're in an internship, they also know they don't have to bring you back if they don't want you. So you're both kind of taking a chance on each other. Your goal is to hopefully get them to pick you up. If
mhm.
you don't despair. I think John raised a very good point. Make sure you're building your resume. Make sure you walk out of that internship with results, something that you can talk about on your resume that you achieved. And so good that you pointed out the formalization of it, because you're right. Under the federal government, we tend to be a little bit more formalized. As I said before, we have a program called Pathways. A lot of the agencies use that to structure the internship, but that doesn't mean they're always doing a great job at it. Some of them kind of haphazardly put a program together, and you walk up on it and you find out, oh my gosh, this is so disorganized. They don't have anything for me to do but to file paper all day
Mhm.
long or make copies. Don't fall for that. Do whatever you can to make sure your internship is meaningful. If they don't have the specific work for you right then and there, ask to shadow somebody. Volunteer your services someplace else in the organization so you can walk away with walk away with a tangible product or
Mhm.
service that you did. If you hear of a task force or a special project coming in,
Committees.
committees, volunteer to be on it and
Yep.
help it out, because a lot of times those are kind of extra, I call them extracurricular
Mhm.
activities when you're working
Mm.
in the job. A lot of us as employees or managers, we don't really have time for those extracurricular
Mm.
activities. So if we can get an intern to volunteer to take it on, we're like, yes, please do that. Win-win for both
Yep.
of you. And a lot of times, sometimes that's when you can get your best job offers, because you weren't really working for that person until you volunteered for them. Then all of a sudden, you're working on a committee, you're working on a task force. They really like your work, and they're jockeying, trying to figure out how can they bring you on board.
Yeah.
So always take advantage of those opportunities. Never look that gift in the mouth and walk away from it.
Yeah. I mean, so we've talked about internships, but let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about how you get an
That's true.
internship.
That's important.
So in school, I would say the first place to start would be, uh, whatever your school to study is. Typically, the dean of that particular school or your professor will have internships listed. Particularly if people are looking for interns for that specific um, uh, curriculum. Outside of that, the placement office, it always has listings for jobs, internships, externships, even, which is an extension of internship. Typically, that's after you've graduated and still need experience. But, and then the typical social media sites: Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, Glassdoor, all of them have opportunities. And then even perhaps the uh, company that you're interested in, go to their websites
Very
to
good
see if
point.
they have anything listed. And as you and I know, relationships are extremely important. So use your network, use your parents' network, use your relatives, anybody you know. If you know the man at the store that you talk to every day, this is not a time to be shy.
Yes.
See who they know, who they know, who they know that might be looking or have an opportunity for you to get your foot in the door and start your internship.
Yeah, I had a young friend. We're just playing some tennis the other day, and she just mentioned the fact that she's looking for an internship. And I said, okay. And I asked her what her area of interest is. And so then the next day I'm playing tennis with someone else, a manager, and that person talked about they're looking for someone to come in and help while someone else is on maternity leave. And it's in this person's field of interest.
Wow.
So, of course, I drew the dots. I'm going to share the resume with that particular person. So, I think you're right. Don't be shy to tell people, I'm looking for an internship, and definitely use your parents' resources. This is not the time to talk about, nah, mom and dad don't know what they're talking about.
Mm.
Your mother and your father they do know what they're talking about. They have connections that you, and because they are a little bit more senior, their connections are probably hiring managers,
Mm-hmm.
people who can really pick you up. Your friends in school can't pick you up. Someone a little older than you most likely can.
Yeah.
So definitely use them as a resource.
Yeah.
I think that I like the idea of not being shy. You have to ask. You have to let people know you're looking and what your interests are.
Yeah. I had touched on also the externships. Those are not as common. Those are typically people who have graduated, may not have obtained a job yet, and still have valid skills and abilities. Maybe they've done internships, but externships typically are those opportunities after you've graduated. Externships are typically paid because you're a pseudo employee, but they serve the same purpose. And hopefully, particularly with externships, you really are looking to get picked up by whatever organization is, employing you as an extern. So those are some of the things that I think people need to keep in mind. One, how you go about getting an internship.
Correct.
Two, what to do when you're in your internship. What's the goal of it? And then three, once you finish your internship, having realistic expectations. So that whole expectation of, oh, I'm doing an internship, I'm definitely getting a job, that does not come to fruition all the time, depending on where you are. So have a realistic expectation that it may not lead to a job, but you have great experience. Um, what else do you think should people should walk away with?
I think again, not having that expectation of getting a job. You may not get it, but that's okay. Your expectation is that again, you walk away with a tangible work accomplishment that you can use as bragging rights on your resume. That's your first and foremost goal. Because, like I said, a lot of times people will hire internships, and you just said, just because everybody else got one, so I need one too. And they may not have meaningful work for you. So you need to really identify that. I think also making sure you use all types of resources to find your internship. Start with it early. As
Mm-hmm.
I said before, your freshman year is the end of your freshman year is not impossible. Go and do your internship right away. One of the things I think we didn't talk about is sometimes it helps you define whether you're going to be really interested in that career. So why waste your time being in this field, all your college money that you spend for your courses, and you find out, oh man, I don't like this job.
Yeah.
This job is boring, or this job is difficult, or worse, is in the medical field, I pass out every time I see some blood, right? You need to know these things up front early so you can make that switch. So that's why we really push for you to look for your jobs, really look for your internship early, and look for your internship that provides you with meaningful work.
Yeah, I think when to piggyback on what you just said in regards to identifying whether or not you like it or not and getting in early, because if you get in, you find you don't like it and you have to switch your major, depending on who's footing the bill, whether it's you, your parents, or the loans that you might have, also looking at your timeline to graduate. So now is the time to switch your curriculum so you're not spending a bunch of time in that particular major that's going to extend your college life, an extra year or two when we all know that years is supposed to be the time frame, but identifying it early could help you make the appropriate change to hit the path running of what you really are interested in.
Right.
So,
And I think I want to say too, for government, what we love to see when when you have been in an internship is that you're a go-getter,
hmm
right? It sends a message when you submit a resume and maybe you didn't get that job from the internship you're in, and you're starting to go back out, beat the pavement, try to find a real job. But what it says to a hiring manager is that you're a go-getter. You are aggressively trying to pursue your career. You are workable in some period because you probably worked that time period, 3 or 4 months, whatever that is, or a whole
hmm
year internship. Either or, but it says a lot about you as a person, as an employee, as somebody they think they can come in and use in their organization. So again, it sends some great messages to a potential hiring manager about you as a person and your how are you going to fit into their organization.
yeah. And then for the uh, private sector, the different segments, either nonprofit, for profit, non governmental organizations. So, depending on that particular industry that you're looking at, you could really hone your search for particular internships or see how skills are transferable for those different segments within the uh, private sector.
So I
So,
want to add this too, John. If someone's wondering, well, how do you find internships? You mentioned all those various resources, but I forgot to add about the federal government. Most of our internships are posted on USA Jobs. Again, it's great to hear about them. A lot of the agencies do use those other social media sites that you reference,
hmm
but they will still gear you back to US Jobs. So I say, make it easy on yourself. Go straight there first, type in
hmm
whatever pathways. And they even have a segment. If you go to the USA Jobs website, they even have a segment that talks about internships and recent graduates. There's so many programs, presidential fellowship. So there's so many management. So there's so many programs there that are listed, and you can go straight to that site and then start typing in your area of interest and see what comes up for you. You don't even have to wonder what agencies are offering an internship. So that's one of the things I like about the federal government when you're looking for an internship.
So, to end on a high note, people who typically have internships, 70% of those people typically end up with jobs
Ooh, that's a big
versus those
percentage.
that don't do internships.
Yeah.
So there's a plus for you to, continue on your path, get your internship, build your resume, get your skills, and move into the career that you're looking for. So until next time, we want you to educate and elevate your employment, and we'll see you then.